Peace, all peace. So obviously Ye, more popularly known as Kanye West, has been trending a bunch lately, mainly for his Drink Champs interview, and more specifically, his alleged anti-Semitic comments towards present-day Jews on the platform. Offering my perspective, for starters, I wanted to say that frankly he said nothing wrong, and to be honest, I was surprised at the outrage his comments received. What he said was rather elementary knowledge for anybody who's done a bit of research, and one could say that his comments were more like observations and remarks rather than insults, hate, or some sort of attack, or whatever the mainstream tried to make it out to be. Personally, I feel as though Ye thought that the general public had the backbone to digest his message, and it's clear that they still do not. With the general public and the masses in general, it's important to lay the foundation and provide context when making unpopular remarks. It's like trying to explain algebra to a child who doesn't even know addition or subtraction. What you're saying isn't necessarily false, but it'll go over their head, and there's a bunch of layers that person has to learn and understand before they're ready for a concept as complex as what you're trying to explain. That being said, Ye could certainly work on his delivery, but as listeners and as the audience, we know that he's an animated speaker, he's an animated personality, and that's why we have to focus on the message and not the messenger. Obviously, leaving out Jesuits and Catholics, which is another video for another day, Ye's message was essentially that present-day Jews run the world in a variety of facets, including ownership, the arts and entertainment industry, so that includes the music industry, film and television, mainstream media, etc. Sports, so obviously from a front office ownership standpoint, high-level finance, so wealth management, investment banking, as well as intermediaries that facilitate many things we don't even necessarily notice. So lawyers, agents, managers, and things of that nature, and obviously contracts. So that brings it back full circle and ties in with ownership, and obviously these contracts deal with sports, with record labels, etc. Here's a short clip from the Drink Champs interview where he breaks this all down.
Jared Kushner is an example of how the Jewish people have their hand on every single business that controls the world. And everybody knows that faux fact. Like, you ever seen the movie Lego Movie where the guy realizes everything is the same company? That's what's happening. By the way, we can't be mad at them, and you can't call me anti-Semitic for calling out.
Again, as previously mentioned, this is rather common knowledge, and all it takes is a few Google searches to find this type of stuff out. I remember being as young as 15 years old in high school thinking, damn, why do a lot of things, if you trace back far enough, always lead to a Jewish family or a Jewish person? It's almost like the famous quote, all roads lead to Rome, but in this case it's more like Jews and Catholics, Jesuits, but again, that's another video for another day. But moreover, besides being correct about his comments on Jewish control and ownership and the overall monopoly they have in the world at the moment, he was also correct about the fact that he quite literally can be anti-Semitic, being that he's a black man. I'll break down what I mean by that later on in the video, but for an analogy, that's like being gay and being homophobic at the same time. It doesn't make any sense. If you've noticed, I've also said present day Jews this whole video, because present day Jews have done a great job of concealing the truth and clouding reality between religion and ethnicity in regards to Judaism. Present day Jews and Jewish people are one of the, if not the only religion that considers themselves to be an ethno-religious group. So breaking down that word ethno-religious, it's obviously ethnic and religious, which obviously then becomes the root of confusion for a lot of people because they're not sure if Jews and Jewish people are a ethnic background or just a religion where you adhere to Judaism. That being said, there's about 5 or 6 main or major ethnic cultural backgrounds or racial backgrounds, if you will, including blacks, whites, Asians, indigenous and aboriginal peoples who are a bit racially ambiguous but nonetheless, Latino Hispanics, and Middle Eastern / Arabic folk. Now today, present day Jews, which are comprised of mostly Ashkenazi and Mizrahi Jews, are for the most part descendants of Middle Eastern Arabic peoples in the form of Greeks, Turks, Syrians, North Africans, and just people you would consider dark whites. As far as religion, obviously the 3 Abrahamic religions together are the most popular and the most commonly practiced religions on earth today, being Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Now obviously if you aren't religious or if you haven't done your research, this won't apply to you, it won't matter, and obviously you don't believe in some of the characters, some of the lineage and the stories laid out in the religious books, so this will essentially be irrelevant to you. But if you are religious, like Jews identify as, then part of being religious is adhering to your book, your religious book. And in said religious book, all 3 Abrahamic religions, there are very particular descriptions of God's people, the Israelites, the so-called people of the book, who of course spoke Hebrew and were the original Jews or Jewish people. From a ethnic standpoint, that very specific physical description is included in Revelation when describing the most well-known Jew of all, Jesus. And as you can see in the highlighted part of the graphic, in Revelation, the 1st chapter, 15th verse, it says, "And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace." I mean, it speaks for itself. It doesn't get any more obvious than that. Which type of person on earth today looks like their feet or their skin would have been burned in a furnace? Black people. And the verse before that, the 14th verse, it says, "His head and his hairs were white like wool." We all know that out of all the races today, black people are the race with the least soft and the most coarse, most tough, if you will, hair that can be likened onto wool. So, I mean, the description speaks for itself. Now, for the last example here, we know that in the Abrahamic books, in the Abrahamic texts, the oldest person, Methuselah, lived to the age of about 969. That was the oldest person in the books. Methuselah had a son named Lamech and a grandson named Noah. Now, it is believed that Noah was actually an albino. As you can see from the highlighted part of this excerpt here, Noah's birth is recorded and talked about in the book of Enoch. And in that book, it says that Noah's flesh was white as snow and red as a rose. And again, similarly, like the description of Jesus, that the hair of whose head was white like wool. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it described Noah as an abnormal child born to normal parents. So if you can think about it, if you're albino and you're born to white parents, it would be rather normal. Probably wouldn't even notice. But if you're albino and you're born to black parents, obviously that will be seen as abnormal. From that point on, Noah had children, one of them being Shem, and that's where you get Semitic people. So yes, being Semitic, to bring it back full circle to Ye's point, being Semitic is being black. If you look at and you consider the lineage and the history and the knowledge that's there in the books, Israelites, and thus the original Jews and Jewish people, Jewish nation, Jewish ethnicity, is black. Like I always say, guys, don't get caught up in the mainstream media. Always pay attention to the message, not the medium or not the messenger. Pay attention to the message. Don't take things personal. Don't be emotional. Look at things rationally and logically and do your own research. You have to do your own research. You got to look things up. You have to look at history, look at etymology, all those things. So make sure you guys stay safe. See you soon. Bless. And I'll let you guys off with this one clip.
These clothes that's just on the floor. Is that degrading to somebody that's rich that want to come in there and support you?
We should degrade the rich. Everybody is dirt. Everybody on the same level beneath God. Because we'll hop over.
That was all. I wasn't very good.